Today's video, I want to talk to you guys about long-term fishing trips. So when I'm saying that, I'm talking about going out for several days into the remote wilderness. So this is going to be handy for not just fishermen, but campers as well. And I'm going to show you guys some gadgets that we use to make our trips better. So I just got back from Colorado. We were in the remote mountains of Colorado. And while we were there, there was absolutely no facilities but a toilet. No internet, no electricity, no running water. So we were up there, we were staying, it was chilly at nighttime, and you know, it was comfortable during the day, but we didn't have any kind of facilities. So we had to basically use baby wipes to kind of keep ourselves clean with. So with that, we've learned a few things over the years. I'm going to show you guys a few things that helped our trip. Number one is some kind of a water pump. You got to be able to wash your dishes. You got to be able to do all that, and hauling cases and cases and cases of water in is just not really cohesive with going into the wilderness. First, we got to take care of the wilderness. So if you bring all this stuff in, now you have all these bottles and stuff like that, and you don't need to be burning plastic bottles, and you know, and you're just hauling trash back and forth. So what we've started doing is carrying a trash pump, and I'll show you guys a little clip of what that does. And basically, it's just a water pump, has a hose that drops into the water, and then you're able to take that pump and pump water into a tank, and then we hold the water through the tank. Works really good. I'll show you a clip. So now that we have water in a tank, what do you do with it? Well, the tank has a valve on it, so you can take it and put it in buckets and stuff like that for washing dishes and stuff. But if you want to be able to shower with it, I got a diesel transfer pump, and this is just a liquid transfer pump. It has a filter on the bottom. It has a cord. It's got two little clips on it to hook onto the positive and negative. You can use it on a car battery. I have a little adapter that hooks onto a DeWalt battery. We used it for that. I hook it to a garden hose with a spray nozzle, and you're able to go out. We would cook some water in a pot, dump it in a bucket, and then we were able to shower. Now you're thinking this is a lot of stuff to carry. You got to understand the fishing trip that I went on had several men. So there were several of us that went there together, and with that, you know, it was a lot more cohesive than trying to bucket a bunch of water up there. So this worked out really well for us. Now you can also use a filter system to where you're able to run some of that water through a filter and use it for cooking and drinking and stuff like that as well. Now they make camper showers that you can drop in and they run off batteries. I have been up there 3 different times in the mountains with guys that had these, and every single one of them quit working. That transfer pump seems to work a lot better, and it also flows a lot more water pressure, so it's able to get you a better rinse off. The next thing is communications. You're going up to get away from everybody, and I agree with that. But this day and age, everybody's got phones. There's all this stuff going on. I happen to have a young daughter who I like to visit with every night before she goes to bed, and I think it's my duty as a dad to make sure my kid's okay, so it's nice to be able to have cell phones. Up in the mountains, you don't have cell phones. We can't afford satellite, you know, different phones and stuff like that, so there is a solution that I found out on this trip, and that is Elon Musk internet. Now, as you see with that panel, it's a 12-inch by 12-inch, probably 3/4 inch thick plate with a cord to it. That's it. And that thing is amazing. So with that, we were able to run multiple people's phones looking through internet, playing on Facebook. I was able to upload and download data for my GoPro videos. We're filming a bunch of fishing trips, which will be coming soon. And it worked really well. And you're like, well, you know, I want to make a phone call. No problem. All you have to do is go into your phone and change the data settings to where you're able to use Wi-Fi phone calling. And you hook onto a Wi-Fi network, and there you go. You're able to talk on a cell phone, super clear, just like normal, all using the Elon Musk internet. So Starlink internet, you're like, well, it's expensive. It kind of is. It's like $450. I've searched on the internet to be able to see current prices, but you can get it on a month-by-month plan. You don't have to subscribe to it. So if you're gonna buy it, you can have that thing, and then if you aren't going to be using it, don't pay for it. Use it, you pay for the month as you're getting it. There's all different plans for it. It's a pretty awesome deal. With that said, all you have to do is be able to get a direct shot to the air without interference. So if you can find a hole big enough to get that thing and point it to the north, it's going to find the satellites and it's going to start communicating. It worked amazing. And all it is one plug-in. So yes, it does have a plug-in. That's the next thing. So now we talked about having to plug the internet in to be able to use the Starlink internet. And with that, I got this cool little box, and it plugs on top of a DeWalt battery. Now they make these that hook on all different brands of boxes. Now with this has a little inverter built into it, and it also has USB. So you can plug a cord into it, or you can plug your phones into it with USB to charge things such as your phones, your GoPros, stuff like that. That thing was able to run the internet. Elon Musk internet, the Starlink, does not use that much internet. We were able to run it off of a battery. Now one of these batteries, I didn't change it. I have several of these batteries, and that's why I went with this system, is because I have a bunch of DeWalt tools, and I thought, well, I can keep everything the same. I already have it. That's all you need, is some kind of an inverter that you can plug it in and run it off battery. These things worked extremely well. Now with that said, this little adapter inverter USB charger is the greatest thing ever. I was able to keep my GoPros, my cell phone, everything like that charged up. And you're like, well, your phone shouldn't take that much juice because you're not using it. Yes, I was. I use my phone as a video all the time. I'm actually recording with my phone right now. So my phone gets used a lot because I'm using data and stuff, videotaping all the time. So I was able to keep, by having some DeWalt batteries in this adapter that can be plugged in, I was able to keep my GoPros, my phone, everything charged the entire trip, which was really, really handy. So I was never dead, never down. I was able to keep the batteries rotated through, and never once did I run out of battery time while I was out there. The next thing that I think you need to have are some two-way radios. Now, there's nothing in the world worse than getting downriver and not knowing where your buddy is. I know this to be true because it happened on this trip. I actually got one of my buddies upset with me because I was going downstream, got carried away catching a bunch of fish, and they were ready to go, and I was down there fishing. Nobody knew where I was, and we had these with us. We should have been using them, and we started after that. Two-way radios communicate pretty much anywhere. We were up in the middle of nowhere, and we were able to communicate as far as we went down with each other where we were at. So if you're going fishing somewhere and you don't have phone signal, you're not going to be able to plug the internet up and follow you down the river. Carry some two-way radios. Be able to communicate who you're with. If it's just going to, hey, I'm going down here, or I'm going to eat lunch, whatever. As I showed, I've got this big scar down my leg. I have a prosthetic knee, and if I'm out in the woods and I fall down, I'm going to need some help. These things could save your life, but not just that, they could also save some attitudes and some problems going down the way. So make sure, if you're going to go out in the woods, this is something I think everybody should have. The next thing that I have a little solar powered camp light, and you can use it as a flashlight, or it extends up to like a lantern inside a tent. It runs on solar, so it charges itself, and it even has a USB port and a phone port to where I can charge everything on my phone. Handy as can be, worked really, really well. Having this light worked really well for me. You can see it's solar charged. It kept the tent lit up at nighttime. I was able to keep one of my GoPro batteries charged on this the entire time. I run several GoPros now. We're trying to really get some high-end fishing quality stuff going on, so we're getting footage of all angles. I was able to charge one of them at nighttime as this thing sat. I sat it outside the tent during the day. It charged up, and during the night I was able to run it as a light. Really, really handy little gadget. It really worked well for me. The next thing, when you get up in the mountains, you're not able to like haul firewood from other places. Colorado's had a beetle kill on a lot of their pine trees, and they're very, very strict about bringing firewood in. But the Forestry Service tends to cut a bunch of firewood down and the dead trees and getting them cold, and they pile them up. And if you ask, we were able to find several places that we were able to get firewood. Now, something I learned is our motors from the almost sea level Oklahoma, they don't work worth a crap up at 10,000 feet altitude because the gas and air ratio is totally different. So we really struggled keeping chainsaws going. So I have found DeWalt makes a 20 volt 12-inch chainsaw that is a beast. I got this thing because I was trying to get firewood cut from my home, and I was getting behind, and I couldn't get my chainsaw to run. I was having all kinds of problems. I was getting frustrated, and finally I was like, screw it, I'm gonna go buy this thing. I'm gonna try it and see how it works. Now, it's not as powerful as a regular saw, but I bet it's 2/3. This thing is a beast. I have literally cut 8 cords of wood with this little bad boy, and it's no issue. They say with a regular 4-amp battery, just the DeWalt battery like that you're able to cut 94-inch logs on one battery. So if you have 3 or 4 batteries, you can cut all day long and just rotate your batteries through. It is a beast, and it doesn't have a problem with altitude. So we were able to cut firewood and keep firewood at a high altitude, and you're not having to tote gas, you're not having to deal with all the other things that go on that way. So you're able to go out there, keep firewood, and it's a lot easier to carry this than it is to tote a bunch of firewood. And firewood's expensive when you get up in the woods and they know you can't get it from anywhere else. You can buy little bundles, and you know, and if you're going to be there several days, it's absolutely non-economical. This is the way to do it. So these are just a few of the electronics that we used. The water pump, of course, wasn't an electronic device, it was a gas-powered device. But if you didn't even want to go that big of a route, this is a lot slower, but you could drop this in the creek as well and pump water and fill buckets, or bucket it out yourself if you had to. But these things made a 7-day trip a whole lot more convenient. It was a lot more fun. We were able to live somewhat normal and be a little bit clean. And I mean, we hiked up and down, drove all over the place. I mean, we fished miles and miles and miles of river. It was pretty awesome. We walked up on some moose. There was eagles everywhere. It was just one of the greatest trips I've ever been on in my life. And these little gadgets made it a lot better. Like I say, this wasn't just about fishing, but the trip that we went on was fishing, and being able to have these devices made it just that much more pleasurable. I hope these tips helped, and we'll see you guys in the future.